त्वमगने सप्रधायसि दुष्टो होतावरेण्यः त्वया यगनं वितनुवते
त्वामगने वाजसातमं विद्यां वर्धन्ते सुष्ठुतं सनूरास्वा सुवीर्यम् ॐ मगने देवीरणामिव देवास्त्वं परिपूरसि आनश्चित्रमुरञ्जसे
Mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says a positive inner call, a strong will, and a great steadiness are necessary for success in the spiritual life. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 1, The Book of Beginnings, Canto 3, The Yoga of the Soul's Release, page 51. A wide God knowledge poured down from above, a new world knowledge broadened from within. His daily thoughts looked up to the true and one, his commonest doings welled from an inner light. Awakened to the lines that nature hides, attuned to her movements that exceed our ken, he grew one with a covert universe. His grasp surprised her mightiest energies' springs. He spoke with the unknown guardians of the worlds. Forms he descried, our mortal eyes see not. His wide eyes bodied viewless entities. He saw the cosmic forces at their work and felt the occult impulse behind man's will. Time's secrets were to him an oft-read book, the records of the future and the past outlined the excerpts on the etheric page. One and harmonious by the Maker's skill, the human in him paced with the divine. His acts betrayed not the interior flame. This forged the greatness of his front to earth, a genius heightened in his body cells that knew the meaning of his fate-hedged works, akin to the march of unaccomplished powers beyond life's arc in spirit's immensities. Apart, he lived in his mind's solitude, a demigod shaping the lives of men. One soul's ambition lifted up the race. A power worked, but none knew whence it came. The universal strengths were linked with his, feeling earth's smallness with their boundless breadths. He drew the energies that transmute an age.
Nous te faisons l'offrande ce soir de tout ce qui est artificiel et faux, de tout ce qui prétend divin. Laisse-le s'épanouir avec l'année qui finit, que seul ce qui est parfaitement vrai, sincère, droit et pur subsiste dans cette année qui commence.
सर्वदेवमयी देवी सर्वलोकभयावहा ब्रह्मेश विष्णुनमिता प्रणमामि सदा मीरा
Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo book Letters on Yoga, Part 1. Topic: The True Being and the True Consciousness. Subtopic: True Being and Ego. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the true being may be realized in one or both of two aspects, the self or Atman and the soul or Antaratman, psychic being or Chaitya Purusha. The difference is that one is felt as universal, the other as individual, supporting the mind, life and body. When one first realizes the Atman, one feels it separate from all things, existing in itself undetached, and it is to this realization that the image of the dry coconut fruit may apply. When one realizes the psychic being, it is not like that. For this brings the sense of union with the divine and dependence upon it, and so consecration to the divine alone, and the power to change the nature and discover the true mental, vital, and physical being in oneself. Both these realizations are necessary for integral yoga. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the I or the little ego is constituted by nature and is at once a mental, physical, and vital formation meant to aid in centralizing and individualizing the outer consciousness and action. When the true being is discovered, the utility of the ego is over, and this formation has to disappear. The true being is felt in its place, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, taken from Letters on Yoga, Book 4, topic Speech and Yoga, subtopic Becoming Conscious. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo has quoted, to become conscious of what is to be changed in the nature is a first step towards changing it, but one must observe these things without being despondent or thinking it is hopeless, I cannot change. Now, words by our Divine Mother on these aspects of being conscious. And the child asks the Divine Mother, Sweet Mother, to know oneself and control oneself. What does that mean? For this, our Divine Mother says, this means to be conscious of one's inner truth, conscious of the different parts of one's being and their respective functions. You must know why you do this, why you do that. You must know your thoughts, know your feelings, all your activities, all your moments, of what you are capable, etc. And to know oneself is not enough. This knowledge must bring a conscious control. To know oneself is not enough. This knowledge must bring a conscious control. To know oneself perfectly is to control oneself perfectly. But there must be an aspiration at every moment. It is never too early to begin, never too late to continue. That is, even when you are quite young, you can begin to study yourself and know yourself and gradually control yourself. And even when you are what is called old, when you are quite aged, it is not too late to make the effort to know yourself better and better and to control yourself better and better. That is the science of living. To perfect oneself, one must first become conscious of oneself. I am sure, for instance, that the following situation has arisen many times in your life. Someone asks you suddenly, "Why have you done that?" Well, spontaneously the reply is, "I don't know." If someone asks you, "What are you thinking of?" you reply, "I don't know." When someone says, "Why are you tired?" you say, "I don't know." "Why are you happy?" "I don't know," and so on. I take indeed 50 people and ask them suddenly without preparation, "Why have you done that?" And if they were not inwardly awake, they will be all the same answer, "I don't know." Of course, I'm not speaking here of those who have practiced the discipline of self-knowledge and of following their movements to the extreme limits, but these people can naturally collect themselves, concentrate and give the right answer, but only after a little while. Our Divine Mother says, you will see that it is like that if you look well at your whole day. You say something and you do not know why you say it. It is only after the words are out of your mouth that you notice that this was not quite what you wanted to say. For instance, you go to see someone, you prepare beforehand the words you're going to speak, but once you are in front of that person in question, you say nothing. Or if it is other words which come from your mouth, are you able to say what the extent, the atmosphere of the other person has influenced you and stopped you from saying what you have prepared for? How many people can say that? They do not even observe that the person was in such and such a state and that it was because of this they could not tell him what they had prepared for. Of course, there are very obvious instances when people find in such a bad mood that you can ask nothing of them. I am not speaking of these. I am speaking of the clear perception of reciprocal influences, what acts and reacts on your nature. It is this one does not have. For example, one becomes suddenly uneasy or happy, but how many people can say it is this? And it is difficult to know. It is not at all easy. One must be quite awake. One must be constantly in a very attentive state of observation. There are people who sleep 12 hours a day and say the rest of the time, "I'm awake." There are people who sleep 20 hours a day and the rest of the time are half but awake. To be, says our Divine Mother, in this state of attentive observation, you must have, so to say, antennae everywhere which are in constant contact with your true center of consciousness. Let me repeat, to be in this state of attentive observation, you must have, so to say, an antenna everywhere which are in constant contact with your true center of consciousness. You register everything, you organize everything, and in this way, you cannot be taken unaware. You cannot be deceived, mistaken. You cannot say anything other than what you wanted to say. But how many people normally live in this state? It is this I mean precisely when I speak of becoming conscious. If you want to benefit much from the conditions and circumstances in which you find yourself, you must be fully awake. You must not be taken by surprise. You must not do things without knowing why. You must not say things without knowing why. You must be constantly awake. Our Divine Mother says, you must also understand that you are not separate individualities, that life is a constant exchange of forces, of consciousness, of vibrations, of movements of all kinds. It is as if in a crowd, you see, when everyone pushes, all go forward, and when all recede, everyone recedes. It's the same thing in the inner world, in your consciousness. There are all the time forces and influences acting and reacting upon you. It is like a gas in the atmosphere, and unless you are active and awake, these things enter into you, and it is only when they have gone well in and come out as if they came from you that you become aware of them. How many times people meet those who are nervous, angry, in a bad mood, and themselves become nervous, angry, and moody just like that without quite knowing why. Why is it that when you play against certain people, you play very well, but when you play with against others, you cannot play? And those very quiet people, not at all wicked, who suddenly become furious when they are in a furious crowd, and no one knows who started it. It is something that went past and swept off the consciousness. There are people who can let out vibrations like this, and others respond without even knowing why. Everything is like that, from the smallest to the biggest things. Our Divine Mother says to be individualized in a collectivity, one must be absolutely conscious of oneself, and of which self? The self which is above all intermixture, that is what I call the truth of your being. And as long as you are not conscious of the truth of your being, you're moved off by all kinds of things without even taking note of it at all. Our Divine Mother continues to say, collective thought, collective suggestions are a formidable influence which acts constantly on individual thoughts. And what is extraordinary is that one does not notice it. One believes that one thinks like that, but in truth, it is the collectivity which thinks like that. The mass is always inferior to the individual. Take individuals with similar qualities of similar categories. Well, when they are alone, these individuals are at least 2 degrees better than people of the same category in a crowd. There is a mixture of obscurities, unconsciousness, and inevitably you slip into this unconsciousness. To escape this, but there is but one means, to become conscious of oneself, and more conscious and more attentive. Try this little exercise at the beginning of the day, and I say, I won't speak without thinking of what I say. You believe, don't you, that you think all that you say? It is not at all true. You will see that so many times the word you do not want to say is ready to come out, and that you are compelled to make a conscious effort to stop it from coming out. Our Divine Mother says, I have known people who are very scrupulous about not telling lies, but all of a sudden, when together in a group, instead of speaking the truth, they would spontaneously tell a lie. They did not have the intention of doing so, but they do not think of it a minute before doing it, but it came out like that. Why? Because they are in the company of liars. There was an atmosphere of falsehood, and they had quite simply caught the melody. It is thus that gradually, slowly, with perseverance, first of all with great care and much attention, one becomes conscious, learns to know oneself, and then to become master of oneself, says our Divine Mother. These are taken from the question and answers of our Divine Mother, year 1950-51, dated 13th January 1951.